MBA, is an effectiveness expert who helps people eliminate self-created problems and distractions which impede success. He is a former brain imaging specialist, managed care executive, and is author of Time Right, Take Realistic Control of Your 1,440 Minutes for Maximum Effectiveness in Sanity. He combines his military background, management training, experience as a healthcare clinician, and successful manager at the nation's largest managed care company to be a catalyst for workplace environment. His programs provide concrete information and practical solutions for business problems. He is the CEO and founder of Train Right Inc., a veteran-owned professional education and consulting firm providing customized training programs, coaching initiatives, keynote presentations, and group seminars. Kevin, if you're ready, I'll hand it on over to you.
Oh, very good. Well, thank you so much, Alexander, and nice to see all of you. I'm glad that you could join us, and it's nice to have a group of people that are independent small business owners, kind of like myself. And, you know, it really is such a different environment. It's so much easier if you just work somewhere else and you just work for someone. Time management, you don't have to think about it as much, but with us, I tell you, every day, you know, this actually is a curse and a blessing that we have so much freedom on how to use our time. And so I just noticed a lot of people struggle with it, and I struggle with it too. I mean, this is why this image here you're seeing now, I think you can see me on the screen, and you can also see the slides, but I just have an image of a path, just walking down the path with the leaves there, and you kind of turn the corner, just to make the point that we're never done with this. There's never a point where you no longer have to think about managing your time. It's really a daily grind and a daily battle, and there's no graduation point. I think someone that is arrogant, or arrogance is basically just a mindset that I have nothing else left to learn. But if you have a beginner's mind and realize you can always improve and continuous quality improvement, that's really the best way to live with this. And I just think the best mindset and the best mantra to have, and I ask myself this every morning when I get up and I'm planning my day, I just say, what is the best use of my time right now? Like right now at this moment, what is the best use of my time? There's lots of different uses for my time and lots of different directions I can go down to, but what is the best use of my time? And I just love this this quote from Peter Drucker. And, you know, I'm assuming a lot of us have been in these seminars before and been in time management trainings, and I've certainly been in a lot and I've taught a lot, but Peter Drucker just tells us that the problem in my life and in other people's life is not the absence of knowing what to do. It's just the absence of actually doing it and actually implementing it. And I couldn't agree with this more. I mean, I know what I need to do. It's just that what is preventing me from doing it? And this whole image of the iceberg really applies to this, because the time management techniques is what you see, what's above the surface. But there's all this stuff below the waterline that really just determines what we're going to do and what we're not going to do, in beliefs that we have that hold people back from doing what they need to do. And a lot of times it's just too superficial. A lot of times I do these time management trainings and I'd be at a company and I'd say, well, you got to do this, and here's how you deal with interruptions. But if people are too nice, they're just not going to do it. Like, there's things that just hold us back, that prevent us. So it gets a little deeper here. So when I say time management for maximum sanity and effectiveness, part of what I'm going to talk about here is that just avoid certain mistakes. If you can just avoid common mistakes that I find people make with this, and especially small business owners, and I think we all know that you can have the best time management plan, and you could have your time planned in a very effective and what you think is a realistic way in a certain day, but something might happen. You know, and you know that bumper sticker begins with the letter S, blank happens. I don't want to say the word, but certainly stuff happens, and stuff happens in life that can throw us off. And so what we need to do is just readjust our plan, and we have to rip up the plan and readjust for the next day. What you don't want to do is just say, well, you see, there's nothing I can do. You know, I just can't manage my time, or I can't manage my time in this environment. There's always things that we can do. And time management, it really shouldn't even be called that, because that's an oxymoron. You really can't manage time. Though some of you might know some people that yell at a clock or talk to a clock or try to get a clock. You just can't manage time. I actually have a neighbor who also says that her husband is an oxymoron. because in his profession, what he does is he's a Finnish carpenter, and she just says he never finishes anything. So oxymoron. Time management is an oxymoron. It doesn't make sense. It should be called self-management as it relates to the passage of time, because it's really just about us. It's about the things we do. It's about how long we spend on the things we do. It's about our ability to focus and stay on track here. So if you can just avoid, so the sanity part, I'm going to talk about mistakes that if you can just avoid, it gives you a much better chance of having success with this. And first of all, just the internal, the traits that hold us back, kind of the under the water stuff, under the surface stuff that holds people back. And I just find there's lots of people, they're just too set in their ways. They're just not going to change anything. And maybe they've been to 10, 20 time management seminars, and they give it lip service, but in reality, they're just not willing to implement anything or willing to change anything. And see, the problem with time management is you really have to test your assumptions and test your theories and test your beliefs. And there's lots of people that just say, no, I couldn't do that, or that wouldn't work. And you just got to try it and just test it. But you also have to ask yourself, what is it costing you? What is it costing you when you don't manage your time well, or when you feel as though you're not managing your time well, or when your bosses or superiors feel as though you're not managing your time well? And I can just tell you one thing, it really harms people's health. I just think our health is number one, and life is short, and poor time management has so many physical manifestations, everything from high blood pressure to migraines to heart disease. I mean, you name it. It just screws up our ability to enjoy our life. And, you know, the World Health Organization tells us the United States, we're one of the most miserable societies, modern societies on record. And, you know, rates of anxiety is way up, and depression is way up. And, you know, I've heard a lot about suicides in the news nowadays. And it's just time management really is a core part of enjoying and having satisfaction in life. So I try to get people to move. You know, I try to have people fill out, you know, there's an action plan here that in the seminars, they just say, based on this training, what are you going to stop doing? What are you going to start doing new? What are you going to do to make sure you begin strongly? But really the first element is I'd just like you to all for a moment, if you have a pen nearby, just write down what might it be costing you personally, professionally, health-wise, family-wise, or what might it cost the loved ones around you if you're not managing your time well, if you don't feel as though you're managing your time well, or if the people you work for, the people you work with, maybe feel as though you're not managing your time well. What might that be costing you? And just pause for a moment and jot that down. Because again, this is the drive, this is the motivation. I'd be the first one to tell you time management is not easy. It takes a lot of self-discipline, takes a lot of focus, a lot of commitment, and it's really, nothing really changes in life until the pain of the old way is considered to be worse or more uncomfortable than the pain of trying something new, or maybe setting boundaries with someone. Because it's really about responding differently to people, thinking differently about things. And just remember that, you know, none of us knows how many days we have left. And, you know, my health is number one, and I cannot let this screw up my health. And I've just realized in my life that, you know, I'm turning 50 later on this year, and I've just realized my life is more than half over. So, you know, I got to manage my remaining time well. You know, with the life expectancy now in the U.S. has gone down for the first time in the last couple of years consistently because of the opioid crisis. I've only got about 30 years left. You know, we've lived to about 80 nowadays, and men a little less than women. But so I just have to make a commitment to this, that I'm going to feel good about my days. And this is really what I mean by the sanity. So the top mistakes here, if you're too set in your ways, you're not going to change anything. If you're unrealistic with yourself and with other people, you're really going to struggle with this and feel bad about it. And there's lots of people that just feel bad about their day, or they feel guilty about their day because they're totally unrealistic. And the reality check in life, and the bottom line, and sometimes I like to use road signs just to remind people, but the reality in life is, there's more to do than time to get it done in. And this is just the way it is. You know, you've got more on your plate than realistically you can accomplish on a daily basis. So join the club. There's just more to do than time to get it done in. And, you know, if you really need 10 people in your company and you only got 5, I mean, time management is not going to does not make up for a lack of resources. time management basically helps you do the best you possibly can do. But, you know, if you're understaffed, that's not going to make the difference with that. But there's just more to do than time to get it done in. We have to accept this fact. We have to stop fighting it. We have to stop fretting over it and stressing over it. And I just like to say, you know, at the end of the day, I don't get everything done. I don't get everything done. Nobody gets everything done. I don't get I mean, I have to be a machine. So I just need to be able to fall asleep at night and just be okay with this. And I didn't get everything done. You know, and I'm not going to get everything done. But hopefully I get what done? You know, hopefully I get the most important thing, or the most important things done. Hopefully what I don't get done is less important than what I did, get done. I think most of us should be judged by what we do get done, not what we don't get done. But I think, you know, the other thing is we just have to say to ourselves, it's always a choice. What we do is always a choice. And I think we should just take out of our vocabulary the phrase, I don't have the time, I don't have the time, I don't have the time. I mean, we do have the time. It's just a choice what we choose to do. And if someone asks us to do something, instead of saying I don't have the time, because that makes you feel more out of control, just say, well, I've got something else. I've got something else that's more of a priority, or I'm choosing to do something else. Or if you think in your mindset, I don't actually have time to get this done, ask yourself, what would you have to give up in order to have time to work on that? And it's always just a reevaluation of choices and reevaluation of where our time is spent. And I just love the phrase ideally versus realistically. Great words you should be using with yourself, and you should be, you know, and other people. Perhaps someone could ask you to do something by the end of this week and say, yeah, ideally would be able to get that done by Friday, but realistically, we're looking maybe the first week of August or whatever it is. But there's lots of ideals in the world, and there's lots of idealistic people, but they may not have a lot of peace of mind. They may have a lot of health manifestations. They may have trouble sleeping at night. And also, I think a lot of times we set ourselves up for failure because we're unrealistic on how long something is going to take. You know, there's lots of people feeling bad about something because they underestimated it. You know, there's people that they're professionals, they're professional estimators. That's their job, especially with construction projects. And if they underestimate how much long something's going to take or how much money it's going to cost, people lose their jobs. So we've got to become better estimators and give ourselves a little more time. We've all heard the phrase, we want to under-promise and over-deliver as opposed to over-promising and under-delivering. But ideally versus realistically has saved me a lot of heartache in my life and other people. And, you know, a great reminder is just some of the public servants, some of our police forces. And in the city of Chicago, I saw this article a few years ago and copied this. And, you know, there's a lot of violence and I think gang violence in Chicago. But the Chicago police just finally said, you know what, we don't have the resources. We cannot respond to every 911 call. So if you call us and your house is destroyed and everything's been smashed, we're going to ask you if you're safe and if you're in need of medical attention and if the perpetrator's on site. And if the answer is no, you know what? You're not going to get an officer, unfortunately. A clerk is going to come out and take your report. We just don't have the resources to answer every call, and you don't have all the resources to do everything that potentially is on your plate or is demanded of you. So to be sane, to have the sanity with this, you got to be realistic with yourself and others, and you also have to accept the fact that you're what? Well, I put a blank line on here, and Alexander, we might have talked about this one, that a lot of people just don't accept the fact that you're human. You know, what does it mean to be human? It means you're not perfect. It means you got things you're better at and things you're not so good at. It also means there's going to be times you're going to be sick. It also means you need to sleep, you need to exercise, you need to have a good diet, you need to take care of yourself, and you know that's just the reality of life. But it's good to get some perspective. I loved Richard Carlson's perspective, the main author of the Don't Sweat the Small Stuff book series, and he just had a little reminder. He had mugs on this and T-shirts, and just remind you, you know, when you die, your inbox won't be empty. So there's no point in life that you're going to arrive to where you're completely finished, where there's nothing else that has to be done. So you stop straining and stop striving to get to this place where I'm totally finished. So you're never going to be finished, but I think at a certain point in the day, you have to say, I'm done for today. You know, it's 9 o'clock. That's it for today. But that perspective is very helpful. Also, if you're a control freak, you're really going to struggle with managing your time. And again, this is really the under the surface stuff that really is the determination of how you're going to manage your time. And there's lots of people that are overly controlling. That really major and minor details, but I just love to ask yourself, where is the line where your efforts are now becoming counterproductive? You know, at what point is it too much? At what point are you really sweating the small stuff and the details and just too into the minor things and not able to let go of things? And it's an interesting question and a good question to ask yourself. And you know, you can't control the direction of the wind. You can't control what happens to you. All you can do is adjust your sails. And I love the quote here from William James. And I know I'm going through these slides fast, but Alexander will get them to you after the training. But, you know, the essence of being a genius is knowing what to overlook. There's just way too many things for you to potentially worry about in your life. There's way too many things for you to stress over, get worked up over. But the essence of being a genius is saying, you know what, A, B, and C, I can't do anything about. D, E, and F, I can do something about. Therefore, I'm just going to overlook A, B, and C, not give them my energy, not give them my time, not give them my peace of mind. I'm going to focus on D, E, and F, and that really is the way to live. And just good reminders on this. And my favorite phrase with this, and I have this hung up in my office, I need to look at this on a daily basis. I just finally got a grip. Been trying to get a grip on my life, been trying to get things together, been trying to get things in order, trying to get things under control or organized, but I just finally got a grip, and just finally got a grip when I learned to let go. And I would guess for everybody here in the webinar, there's a whole list of things you need to let go of more, a whole list of things you need to give less energy to, these minor things or these things that aren't getting you anywhere, these distractions. And a big part of time management is just being able to say, first things first, and I just need to give less energy to all these other things and not let it bother you. The problem is when the emotions get in on this, and when you feel bad about things, or when you feel bad about yourself, or you feel bad about your day, it really affects your ability to be as effective as you can be and to manage your time moving forward. Very closely related to this, another top mistake I find people make, there's just too many people that are just way too hard on themselves. Too many people that, I mean, I think we've heard this before, but we say things to ourselves that would never allow anyone else to say. And you know, a lot of times with Tab and having your own business, you know, you become your own boss, and you realize you've got the worst boss you've ever had in your life, because the boss now is yourself, and the boss is brutal and unrealistic and hard on yourself, and they'll give yourself a break, don't let yourself rest. And this is why Stephen Covey would talk about sharpening the saw, take the saw off the wood and make it go sharper, make it be sharper. We have to have time for recreation. We have to have time to reset. We have to have time for rest and relaxation. But too many people just go, 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 check, 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 check my email. There's no stop. There's no ending to it. And it's just making ourselves exhausted. Insecurity is also a killer in the workplace, and just in the, you know, a lot of people are just insecure. You're not seeing my entire face anymore. Lower the camera. All right, there we go. Beautiful. That's a little better. Good. I'm glad I checked the chat on this. But insecurity is just one of the core issues for a lot of folks, because, you know, the more insecure you are, the more you worry about yourself, what people are thinking of you, and the more you just get caught up in things and trying to prove yourself. It's just a big waste of time, and a lot of waste of time and energy in the workplace and around other people. Really, the core issue is insecurity, and not a lot of people that are insecure may not admit it, but you know, it's just a major energy waste and time waste. And when you're insecure, you know, you'll spend 20 minutes doing something that really should have taken 2 minutes, and it's difficult. If you're too nice, you might as well go ahead and get the acid reflux medication now. It's just not going to work out for you. You know, it's nice to be a nice person, but if you're too nice, you're really going to struggle with this. And the problem is there's just so many people who would love to waste your time. There's so many people who would love to make their priorities be your priorities. There's so many people who just would love to talk to you and get immersed, and you know, it's just too nice. You worry too much what people think about you. You're closely related to insecurity, and you're afraid you're going to let them down. And it's just, we need to defend our time. We need to really just be ruthless with it. We need to be, you know what's starting up soon is the NFL and the training camps, and you know how ruthless they are with their numbers, and they have the salary cap, and they just cut people. I think we all need to make some cuts in our lives. We need to cut out the lower level stuff, and if you're too nice, you're just not going to do it. So that really might be the issue that some of us need to work on. It's just becoming less too nice and putting other people's priorities first. But again, these are the top mistakes. These are first of all, the kind of the personality or the mindset mistakes that we make. Also, if you're a perfectionist, you're really going to struggle with managing your time. Some of you might recognize that I spelled the word perfectionist wrong, and I did that on purpose because the more that drives you nuts, maybe the more of a perfectionist you are. But this is another thing, you just take way too long on things. And, you know, some people need to speed it up a bit. Some people that are making a lot of mistakes in the workplace maybe need to slow it down. But, you know, waiting for the perfect time and getting caught up on all this stuff, and it really makes it more difficult. Also, with efficiency versus effectiveness, I think this really relates to perfectionism. If you're efficient, that's good. Efficiency means quick as opposed to slow. But effectiveness means doing the right things as opposed to the wrong things. You don't want to, I think even Drucker said one of the biggest wastes is to efficiently do the wrong things. You don't want to efficiently do the stuff that's not going to move your ball forward, but you want to just make sure you're doing the right things. You don't want to win the battles but lose the war. And this is, again, with sweating the small stuff and the minor things, the control freaks and being insecure and being a perfectionist. These are all the things that really get in the way. And now I've spelled that the correct way. Also, if you're overly dramatic and the OMGs and oh my God and all the emojis and everything, it's such a big deal. I just think we need to remind ourselves our life is not an emergency. You know, unless we're living in Syria right now, unless we're in a war zone or something, like our life is not an emergency. The sun is going to come up tomorrow. The sun will go down tomorrow. And just the drama does not help us. Also, another thing that really hurts us with time management, I find there's a percentage of people, I think we all know that we live in a ADD society nowadays, but, you know, a lot of people struggle with managing their time because their brain is just working against them. If you've got some symptoms of ADD, you're going to struggle with hyperactivity. You're going to be impulsive. You're going to be inattentive. You're going to be forgetful. You're going to make careless mistakes. You're going to be easily distracted, lack of concentration, lack of focus. There's a great website there, ADD.org. You can take a self-test. But I'm just finding lately that for a percentage of people that are interested in time management training, their issue really is they got attention deficit disorder or adult hyperactive disorder. And that's something, if you have any inklings on that, that's something definitely to get checked out. Because, again, life is too short not to check that out. And still moving ahead here with the top mistakes, moving away from kind of the personality and trait things. But another top mistake is there's lots of people that just don't honestly, the key word here is honestly, assess how their time is spent. A lot of times the things that we say are important to us, or the things that we say are our priorities, you have to ask somebody, well, how long do you spend on that in a day? I mean, I think there's an inverse relationship between the amount of time that we work on something and the amount of energy we spend fretting on something. And so a lot of people are just not honestly looking at it, and you'd really be amazed. What I use here is stopwatches, and I've got stopwatches all around me here. This is one of them that I use, and I'll show these a little more later for various topics I have. But the stopwatch just doesn't lie. I mean, you're not your job title. You are the things that you do. Like, I'm not a corporate trainer or a motivational speaker. As far as it relates to time management, I'm just the activities that I do. Like, I'm somebody that maintains a website. I'm somebody that creates handouts. I'm somebody that makes travel arrangements. I'm somebody who travels. I'm also somebody who stands in front of audiences, or I'm somebody that does coaching. But I need to break these things down. And the best thing to do is do something like a 3D pie chart here. You know, break down your activities. Like, you may say marketing is one of your priorities. Okay, well, how much time have you actually spent marketing in the month of July to this point? I might say physical fitness is important to me. Well, how much time have I spent in July working out? And, you know, a lot of people don't want to do this because it's painful. And just like a lot of people don't want to download their online banking, you know, at the end of June and say, well, how much money did we spend on various things? You know, in my house, I've got 3 kids, a 13-year-old, 11, and 9-year-old, and we spend consistently every month at least $500 just going out to eat. Why? Because we think it's going to be a break, or we think it's going to be a treat or something, but a lot of times it's even more of a pain. But if I don't see this data, I won't be able to make new decisions. So I got to find the patterns, find the efficiencies, helps me reflect on the why. And a lot of times we don't see ourselves objectively. The truth can really hurt. You know, the average visit to Facebook nowadays is 45 minutes, just the average visit. But it would be fascinating to see how much time do I spend on Facebook? You know, the best way to really do this and ask yourself the question, you know, how do I waste time? Where are my efficiencies? How is my time wasted by others? The best way to really do this is have a hidden camera on you. I mean, wouldn't that be shocking if there was a hidden camera on you for 90 days and the camera just followed you around and they gave you this data? You know, in the trainings, they have people write it down. Okay, marketing, how much time you think you spend on marketing? On meetings, how much time you think you spend on meetings? But that's what they think. But if you had the hidden camera and they gave you all the data, the actual numbers, it would just be shocking. It would just be eye-opening. You'd say, "Oh my God, I spend that amount of time just socializing or fretting or doing this," and it is just eye-opening. So, honestly assessing where your time goes, and you know, to be forthcoming. You know, this is my profession. This is what I do. But I also spend time taking care of my kids. I'm driving them and picking them up to summer camps this week and everything. And you know, am I working 40 hours a week? Am I really working 40 hours a week? You know, it's a good question. And I need to look at that data, and that really is the drive, is the motivation, motivates me to want to make some changes in my life. But again, if I'm too set in my ways, then I'm not going to make any changes. So also, trying to keep everything inside of your head, I'm finding, is another top mistake for small business owners, because this is one of the reasons why we have the depression and the anxiety. We have trouble sleeping because our heads are so filled up with everything that we think we have to do. I mean, the bottom line is, you know, time management 101. You got to have a system to track everything. So it's not in your head. We need our heads to be clear. We need to be able to have peace of mind so we can make new decisions. We want to have our brains open and free for new ideas, new solutions of things we haven't thought of before. You know, most of the thoughts we're having today, we had yesterday. Most of the thoughts we're having today, we're going to have tomorrow as well. And I just figure, hey, you know what? Albert Einstein was smarter than me. And Albert Einstein said, I never commit anything to memory that easily can be looked up. So our brains, again, better used for more creative ideas. So I'm just not going to try to keep things in there. If I can look it up, have it in the system, you know, this is not a system, all the Post-it notes all over the face, and this is not a system, all the papers all over the floor. You know, that doesn't help as well, you know, and just this constant unproductive preoccupation with all the things we have to do is the single most largest consumer of our time and energy. So it's not actually doing the things that need to be done. It's just actually being preoccupied with the things that need to be done. So we need to be able to say, you know what, I got it. It's in here. It's in my iPhone. If I open up the iPhone here, if I go, what I do a lot of times is I use the notes section, and I'm just speaking in on the notes sections. You know, this is my to-do, and I can just go on here, and I use the microphone button. I just dictate things in here. It doesn't have to be in this. It can be in other apps or other things that you can use, but just whatever you can do to get it out of your head is the way you want to go with this. Because you look at this image here, the two brains and the red blotch of the brain, and a lot of people say, well, I got things on my mind, things on my mind, things. It's not really on your mind, it's in your mind. Like, it takes up space. It's like an invasive growth or something. It's like, I got so much to do, and all the explanation points, and this really adds to the drama and this sense that everything's an emergency or things aren't calm or things aren't together. So ask yourself, you know, as you come to this time management webinar, what is your system that you use to track what needs to be done and followed up on, and how is that working for you? What are some of its advantages and disadvantages? You know, what changes might you need to make with this system? And what might you need to do to make it work even better for you? And let me go back to that, to the slides, and, you know, and make some adjustments with this so it's working a little better. And this is part of, you know, what is it costing you if I don't make these changes? But going back to the top mistakes, so we get those traits, all the personality things, not honestly assessing how your time is spent, trying to keep everything inside of your head. And I'm sure that, you know, any time management training you go to, they're going to talk about priorities, thinking everything is equally important. But the way I like to explain is that, you know what, if everything's a priority, then what? Well, if everything's a priority, then nothing's a priority. You know, it's just, if it's all equal, it's just, the mistake is thinking it can't be equally important. You've got to be able to distinguish. And I love Thoreau's, Henry David Thoreau's quote here. It's just, it's not enough to be busy. And sure, we're all busy. Everybody's busy. But it's just not enough to be busy. So are the ants, you know. The ants are busy too. The question is, what are we busy about? And imagine this is before all the technology and the computers and social media and all the distractions that we have. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen people in the workplace, they just appear to be very busy, but they're not really doing anything. I mean, they're walking back and forth to the printer, or the papers in their hand, or the desk is a mess, but what are we doing? You know, what are we busy about? And again, a lot of times I think we need to stop ourselves during the day and say, hey, wait a minute, what am I doing right now? Is this moving me forward, or is this a distraction? But what's important anyway? I'm sure you've all seen the 4 quadrants, but what I like to ask myself is that what is it that that I do that only I can do? Like, what's something that only I can do that if I do it well makes a tremendous difference? You know, and that's a good question. The other question to ask yourself is that, you know, what a priority really is something that moves you towards the completion of your goals. So the question would be, what are my goals and what am I doing now as it's moving me towards it? And this is even more important for us small business owners, because we have to ask ourselves, where do I want to be a year from now? And what I'm doing right now, is this going to bring me towards that or not? And the 4 quadrants kind of adapted from Stephen Covey, and goals and due dates we want to have. But that's really the mistake, is thinking it's equally important. You've got to be able to distinguish. And, you know, sometimes people say, well, they're all A items. Okay, well, pick out the A1s and then pick out the A2s or pick out the A3s. And next mistake is just starting the day and doing whatever. You know, I think there's lots of people that do this in the American workplace. They just come in and just say, well, let me just check my messages. Let me just come in and open my Outlook and see what I got going on. And if you just start the day doing whatever, then you'll just be sucked into various things, and the squeaky wheel always gets the grease. So you don't want to just do whatever. You want to make sure you have a plan. Ask yourself, what would I like to have happen? What would realistically make me feel good today? What would be helpful? I just think you either have a plan or you plan to fail and be upset. You know, 1 hour of saving saves about 10 hours of doing. This forces you to think about what's important. It gives you focus and balance and helps you feel like you're in control and you're successful. So I'm going to give you some easy ways you can do this. So what do you never find? Well, unless you're flying from the East Coast to the West Coast, you never find any more time. So what do we have to do? You never find any time. So what do you have to do? You have to schedule it. You have to plan it out. And I think really the easiest way to do this is just look at the minutes. This is how I'm doing it now the last decade or so. I figure I've got 24 hours in a day times 60 minutes. I've got 1,440 minutes a day. So if I just break this down, this becomes a little more motivating. The other reality is, again, I have to accept the fact that I'm a human being. So what does that mean? I need to sleep about 8 hours a night for me to be able to function and for my brain to be at my best. So if I sleep for 480, I just minus 480 from 1440, and that gives me 960 minutes that I'm awake. So that is really the hope, and that's what's motivating, because I say, wait a minute, I've got 960 minutes. Is there any reason why I can't spend 30 of these on a treadmill? Is there any reason why I can't spend 30 of these marketing? Because then I still have 930 left. I mean, that's really the way to look at it. And, you know, for most people, it probably should be 480 minutes at work, 480 minutes of sleep, and then 480 personal minutes, either before work or after work. But I usually recommend to people, this is just a realistic plan for someone, kind of their offensive time. It looks like here for 2 hours and 45 minutes, they're going to be in the offense. They're planning their time for a typical day at work. I think we should be realistic with our time on the offense and then the defense. The defense is the reacting. You know, that's a big part of most people's jobs, especially if you're in customer service. But I just think we need some offensive time, and this is 2 hours and 45 minutes, and 2 hours and 45 minutes is 165 hours. 2 hours and 45 minutes comes 165 minutes. So if you take 165 minus 480, you still have 315 minutes left out of the 480. Even for the personal life, you know, this is one for me a couple summers ago. I said I'm going to spend 30 minutes exercising, 30 minutes on marketing. These are things I haven't gotten to yet. Spraying the ants was something my wife really wanted me to do that I've been procrastinating on. 30 minutes on the rentals and 30 minutes on my son's Lego ship. This is what his Lego ship looked like. About 1,000 pieces. We built this and it smashed. And my wife Laura was saying, Kevin, when are you going to fix this? We've been waiting. Poor Zachary needs his ship fixed. And Okay, finally, let's schedule it. I'm never going to find the time to do it, so let's just schedule it. 30 minutes on the ship, the rentals, the spraying for the ants, the marketing. Okay, so that's 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours, again, is 150 minutes. I think I might have been wrong on the math on the last one, but math is not my strong point, and I can just admit that. So 2.5 hours is 150 minutes, and then out of my 960 waking minutes, that still gives me 810 minutes left. So it could really be something as basic as a piece of paper, just writing down 30 minutes on A, 30 minutes on B, 30 minutes on C, and let me just do that with a piece of notebook here, and excuse me for a sec, and just to write it down, and I can just have it on a, it doesn't have to be a complicated thing. 30 minutes on A, 30 minutes on B, 30 minutes on C, and I could just be looking at this, and I can have it, and then what I can do is use the stopwatch, and the stopwatch only runs when I am focusing on that. If I take an interruption or take a distraction, I have to stop the stopwatch. You can see this says website on it. When I was working on the website, I wanted to compile how many minutes in a week I was spending on that because I had goals that I wanted to reach. Really, the issue with time management is we've heard about, the ADD and the attention deficit disorder, but I really think we also have something called the focus deficit disorder. We just can't focus in our society nowadays. So if I'm just going to have these 90 minutes, they're going to look something like this. Again, this is 2.5 hours. There should be no reason why I can't accomplish this, why I can't cross this off. And when I cross it off, I make a grunt sound, almost like I'm lifting weights. I'll go, just to get that sense of satisfaction, just so I can feel good about it. And again, I think the sin is a lot of people just don't feel good about their day. So if you just start the day doing whatever, that's the mistake, and that's what feels bad, and it doesn't give us that satisfaction. The other thing you want to do is schedule meetings to be on the offense. That's another mistake that people are doing. They're not scheduling meetings. So generally when you schedule a meeting, you give it the same respect as you would as if you were in a meeting in the workplace, like you're sitting around a conference room, like you're not pulling out your phone and checking your email, or you're not on whatever it is. But I think we need to schedule meetings with ourselves to be on the offense, and that's how you do that. You say the time you're going to spend on it, it's going to be 30 minutes, and the convictable commitment test is if someone was to accuse you in open court of being committed to your goals, would there be sufficient evidence to convict you? And, would there be a time log? Would there be a calendar? Would there be entries? And the F word in time management is focus. And you can block it off on this. I love something called the weekly block plan. In other words, I have a meeting from 1 to 2 on Monday, and while I'm in this meeting, I shut Outlook down. I don't check my messages. I don't look at it. This is what the Outlook calendar can look like. But I need to have this offense so I can just feel good about the day. I'm working on writing another book now, and this book is never going to happen unless I allocate at least 60 minutes a day on it. And that helps me sleep better at night. That helps me feel better about things. And it helps me get that sense of satisfaction. Next mistake is taking every interruption and distraction. Some interruptions we have to take, absolutely, but if you just take every one, that really is the mistake that you want to avoid. And this question that we always get, which is, do you have a minute? Do you have a minute? Do you have a minute? And of course we want to say no, but what's the best response to, do you have a minute? Well, the best response, do you have a minute, is actually how much time do you need? Because it never really is a minute, is it? But how much time do you need? Hopefully there's a little triage and there's a little clarification. And what I love to throw in there is how much time do you need? Because right now I have a hard stop in about 10 minutes because I have something else going on. But I do have a half hour later on at 2 o'clock. Maybe you can come back then. But when you say to somebody, how much time do you need? Hopefully you're just going to get a quick summary or a quick summation. And hopefully this gives you a chance to be able to say to them, listen, realistically, that's probably going to take 35 minutes or 30 minutes, a half an hour, or 45 minutes. I have an opening. Could you come back then? Sometimes you're going to have to stop and take it, but it's better if you can push it off. It's also better as far as interruptions go if you can somehow change your physical location so you're not facing everybody, so you're not looking, so it's not so distracting. Or you could say, right now I'm working on this. Do you need me to stop what I'm doing? And it really depends on who the person is, what's your history with them, what is their status, ask for help in clarifying what's most important. But, interruptions really is a killer in the workplace and even, with Outlook and with the messages, and it really does. But hard stop is a good phrase to use. I hate to cut you short, but, you don't want to make it easy or comfortable for them. Moving forward, perhaps you can find the answer to your own question down in a shared file. I just love earplugs, especially if you're in an environment where lots of people are working around you. I don't like the big orange ones because everybody can see that they're in your ear, but just these little wax ones, most people can't see that they're in there. So you can have these, what gets in the way, best things to say. Perhaps if you had a thinking cap on, like, make a game out of it while I'm wearing this cap, while I'm wearing my thinking cap, please don't interrupt me. Or I'm wearing this thinking cap with all the drink cups and the drink holders in there. That's another funny way to do that. Doing other people's work, especially for small business owners, doing things, the way this works is anytime you do something someone else could do, it keeps you from what? It keeps you from doing something that only you can do or only you should do. So we need to be looking at what are the things that only I can do or the things only I should be doing, and then what are those things that someone else could be doing. And outsource is what we should be doing. There's all types of virtual assistants nowadays. I think there's Odesk, and I forget what the name of that has changed to, but Odesk became something else. But definitely hiring, going on the gig economy, going on finding someone that can help you. I just think you only get your time and life under control to the degree which you discontinue the lower level stuff. But there's all types of people, all types of websites, people looking for little things to do, looking for little work. Also, if you let email run your life, what we all need to start doing is we need to shut down our messaging, Outlook or whatever that software is. You need to check your messages frequently, but just not constantly. You need to shut it off, check it every bottom of the hour, every top of the hour, check it every hour, but it just can't. You cannot have any beeps come up. You cannot have any envelope icons. You have to take it in chunks and triage and clarify, because otherwise it's just going to kill you as you go through on this. And, if you're in customer service, if you think you need to get back, I just think we need to teach people how to treat us. And I think a big part of time management is professionally managing other people's expectations of us. And I think a lot of times these expectations that I must respond to every email or every message within 2 or 5 minutes is really not a functional thing. It's really not from the healthy side of us. It's more from the dysfunctional side, and it's more from a side that we don't want to get immersed in. And probably nobody has said that expectation to you, but you just really bring it in. And procrastinating, I think what we dread, we delay. So delaying on things, the things that you're dreading, and you really need to change that mindset and find more positive reinforcement and find more satisfaction on actually getting the thing done and more pain on delaying on it. And how do you eat an elephant? Just one bite at a time. You just go through it. And I did want to stop for some Q&A. Before I do that, my contact information is on some of the slides. It's either kevin@kevinstacy.com or kevin@trainwritinc.com. My problem with, my name, Kevin Stacy, my problem now is with that actor from the American Beauty and House of Cards movies, Kevin Spacey. If you Google me now, of course, it comes up as Kevin Spacey, but I'm Kevin Stacy. And also, this is my book on time management, which is available on Amazon TimeWrite. Take realistic control of your 1,440 minutes for maximum effectiveness and sanity. Also have one on MessageWrite. Take control of your email, text, and IMs for maximum effectiveness on sanity on Amazon. And the next one coming out in a little bit is called MindWrite, getting your mind right with various things so your mind isn't all messed up. But I did want to open it up, Alexander. I think I said I was going to stop at 1:15 for questions. I know that I talk fast. I know that was a lot of information, but again, I will get you those slides. But what did we have for questions?
Yes, that was, just so you know, that was incredibly relatable. I could definitely relate to almost everything that you said. So I think our attendees are going to get a lot out of this. Yes, we had a couple of questions that did come in. The first question asks, what is the system that you use to track what needs to be done and follow up?
Well, I used to use a little 3x5 notebook, which was great. I would keep it with me, but it doesn't matter what the system is, just as long as you have a system. You know, the system can't be Post-it notes, I'll say that. You just have to have a system that you like, that you trust, that works for you. You know, if I was from the Covey organization, I might be selling the Covey day planners and say, everybody use these day planners. It doesn't matter what you use, whatever you're comfortable with. I don't care if it's electronic or paper, but what I'm using now is just this notes section, you know, on the iPhone. And, you know, this is what it looks like, and I just see it, I got it, and what's good about this, it goes into my Outlook on the laptop. You know, this isn't my goal sheet or anything, but just as I think of things, I just dictate it. And hopefully everybody is using this microphone button there, the space button there. Hopefully nobody is texting or hitting different characters. I just talk these things in to say new line dash, and as I got it, you know, I don't know about the rest of you, but if I have a thought, if I don't jot it down without a minute or so, I'm just going to lose it, you know, 30 seconds. So I'm just using the notes on the iPhone. I also can use Outlook for the calendar. Actually, I got a screenshot here. The other thing I use is one called Evernote or OneNote, which I think a lot of Microsoft computers have preloaded, where you can give certain tags for certain activities. What we are using for the family, though, is Cozy, so we can all see it, so my wife can see it and I can see it. So different family appointments, you can click on here to see which one of my kids has what activities. Also, another resource here is called Todoist. Not to-do list, but Todoist. There's all kinds of free apps that you can get on here, but I don't care what it is, as long as it's something. Just don't keep it in your head. And what else did we have for questions?
Yes, wonderful. Another question that popped up is, what's the best response when my boss comes in and asks me to take on something new, or when I have more than one boss giving me stuff?
Yeah, that's tough. I think we need to just push back a little more with people, you know, in a professional way. I just think that when someone comes to you and says, can you take on project A, you got to have just like 30 seconds in there, or just say, well, can I just tell you what's on my plate already, or what I already have? Like, there's got to be a chance to at least say that. You know, not that you're saying no, but you're saying, listen, I just want to inform you, I can take that on, but if I do take that on, I want to let you know I'm going to have to put B and C on the back burner. So the phrase, here's what's on my plate, is a good one, because it's non-emotional and non-dramatic. And also front burner and back burner are good phrases to use as well. And so, yeah, I can bring that to the front burner. Just let me know which one of these three I can put to the back burner. Or look, can I just tell you what I've got? I've got B, this is promised to so-and-so, here's the deadline, I've also got C. You know, just want to make you aware if I take this on, those are going to have to go to the back burner, but also maybe you could find another resource to help with B and C before I take on A. You know, you're not really saying no, you're saying yes as soon as. Yes, I can help you with this as soon as you get some help with B and C, or yes, I can take that on, but please, can I just let you know what I got already, because you may not realize. Another good phrase to use with people is you may not realize. You may not realize what I've also got already and what's been promised. And, you know, but managing up is key. And managing up, you know, if you got a job, you got to be able to say, here's what I'm thinking is most important. I want to make sure we're on the same page with this. And I've had lots of bosses that said, no, don't worry about that anymore. That's old news, you know. Sometimes we don't realize that till we say it. But the worst thing is just to say, yes, really quick, because you're insecure or nervous or anxious. And if you're a people pleaser, again, if you're too nice, you're really going to have a hard time with this. And what else you got, Alexander?
Yeah. Well, I can definitely relate to that, being too nice of a people pleaser. So I'm going to work on that myself.
Yeah, that's what people are.
And then we had one more question that popped up. And I know you were showing some of the apps, but this person asked if there were any apps that you like for managing time. So I know you showed a couple of the different apps. Are there any others?
No, definitely OneNote, Evernote, Cozy, or Google Calendar for a shared calendar, make sure everybody's on the same page. There's also Asana for work teams that are in a group where everybody can see what they're doing. Also, that Todoist I showed. I also showed the iPhone and just the notes section, or just a little 3.5 by 5 little notebook that you carry with you. But just something. The bottom line is, ask yourself, what is your system and how is it working for you? Do you feel calm? Do you feel in control? Or do you feel all anxious and nervous and out of control? Do you feel like you got it together? Do you feel like you got it in a place? You want to say, yes, I got it. It's in here. I don't want it in here. I want it in here. Yeah, I got it. You got it. Make sure you got it in a place where you know you have it, so it's not in here. And whatever that can be for you. But is it working? Is it not working? Do you need to change it a little bit? Absolutely.
Wonderful. And if you don't mind, Kevin, would you put the slide on that has your contact information real quick?
Sure. Yep, there we go. Kevin at KevinStacey.com. Awesome. Kevin at trainwriting.com. Either one gets to me.
Great. Go ahead and jot down Kevin's information if you're interested in speaking with him or have any questions. Otherwise, you can check out all of our previous BOSS webinars on demand by visiting our website and clicking on the webinars button. Make sure to join us in August for a webinar featuring hiring as the topic. Thank you, everyone, for joining today, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day.
Okay, thank you, Alexander.
Thank you.